Welcome to Mondays with Vish. We're your hosts, Cohn and Vish Kumaran. Sorry to keep pushing it back. I foolishly scheduled this right when the Niners exit interviews began. They're still going on. I lost my patience. They're all saying how wonderful and happy they are and how great everything was, and that's great. When Jimmy Garoppolo talks, we'll tap in. I'll have the audio right here. We can listen to him say how great everything is and how happy he was to be a Niner. But until then, I don't want to waste Vish's time. He's gracious to giving us an hour. He works very hard. He doesn't even do this for a living, but we all want to know what he thinks. So, Vish, good to see you.
Yeah, what's up? I mean, it's really, as a fan, it's really hard. You know, like last night wasn't too bad, but this morning I woke up and I was like, damn, I spend my entire weeks basically working really hard Monday through Saturday so that I can keep Sunday free to watch the 49ers. And it's going to be really hard without having that to look forward to for a little while.
Well, look, I mean, the name of the show is assessing blame for the loss. There's some disagreement as to in the fan base on who should bear responsibility. I'm going to get there. We're going to talk about the future. First, I want to give you your victory lap. I mean, really, it was very impressive. I try to go head up with the Niners sometime, but I've never done what you did. You laid out a parallel plan. You were doing it not to second guess them. You were trying to be helpful as a fan. Say, I think you should trade for Matthew Stafford. And the Rams were like, that's a really good idea. And the Niners were like, not for us. And you know what? The Rams are going to the Super Bowl. The Niners aren't, because the Rams made the deal that you said the Niners should make. So I just want to say, nice. And a lot of people were giving you crap on this stream the last few weeks, and you were just like, okay, hold on. Season's not over. Let's see what happens. And you were right. So I just want to give you an opportunity to gloat or whatever. You toot your own horn.
It's a little bit bittersweet, right? Because if he had done that for the Niners, it would feel a lot better. Him doing that for the Rams, while nonetheless, I mean, very impressive. That's
my question. Should the Niners have traded for Stafford?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I said this even when they traded up, even when they drafted Trey Lance. To me, the number one move of this offseason was trading for that guy.
Yeah.
He's a special quarterback. There's been a lot of second guessing whether he's a special quarterback this year. Earlier in the season, people were like, yes. Then he had a couple bad games and people were like, see, he's not that guy. Oh, see, and if he plays well on a primetime game, they played so-and-so team, not a big game. Let's see what he does in the playoffs. If he plays poorly in a primetime game, we get to 18 versus the 49ers, Sunday night versus the Titans. See, he's not that guy. He's not that quarterback. He never wins the big game. I don't know who that guy is. That guy has never been given a definition, but that guy, that guy is always thrown around. He is that guy. If you watched him in Detroit, unfortunately, I watched a lot of him on Detroit because I live in Chicago. So Fox, when the Bears aren't playing, shows a lot of Lions games. So I've seen a lot of Matthew Stafford in my life. He's one of the 6 or 7 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been one of the 6 or 7 best quarterbacks
of the Midwest.
in the NFL. Yeah, since
we didn't know.
Probably his third year, when he took that Lions team that wasn't very good with Jim Schwartz to the playoffs, and they started 5-0. They had a good pass rush, and they had Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, and that's how they made the playoffs.
That's true.
See a lot of stuff about how special Cooper Kupp is. Cooper Kupp had one 1,000-yard season until this season when he played with Matthew Stafford and had a historic, one of the great receiver seasons of all time.
Real quick, if I could just cut in real quick, to your point, I think if Matthew Stafford were on the Niners this year, his numbers would have been even better.
I think so too. I think so too. With Debo, with Ayuk, with Shanahan, who I think is a better play caller than McVay. I think he would have had better numbers. I think the 49ers would be right where the Rams are. They'd be in the Super Bowl. Look, we don't know how long-term Trey Lance is going to play out. But my issue with trading for Trey Lance and not playing him the first year was always about the fact that I felt like this roster had only 30 players signed to going into 2022. I thought a lot of really good veteran players might walk after this season. And Matthew Stafford is cheaper than Jimmy Garoppolo this season. And I thought if you're going to go back for one last hurrah, bring in a veteran quarterback, put him in a better situation, an elevated situation, which is what the Rams did, and go win the Super Bowl this year. Because building this Super Bowl level roster, like, look, the Niners over the next few years are going to have a lot of top heavy talent, right? They're going to continue to have Debo Samuel. They're going to continue to have Nick Bosa. They're going to continue to have Fred Warner. They're going to continue to have Trent Williams. The question mark is whether you can have this team where they have 19 starters who are above average in their position. Jaquiski Tartt, he dropped an interception, brutal play, late in that game. It sucks. He's going to get a lot of crap for it, but he owned up for it. I thought the way he handled himself after that game was mighty impressive. Well, guess what? Whatever you want to say about him, he's an above-average safety starter in the NFL, and he's a veteran player. I don't know if the Niners are going to have an above-average starter at safety if they're unable to bring him back. K'Wan Williams fills that boat. He's an above-average nickel in the NFL. You have so many players, different players. Laken Tomlinson, he's an above-average starting guard. So you have all these different players that they've had the last 3 years. DJ Jones is another, that are above average players at their position, kind of unsung, underrated heroes, but they're really better than most guys in the league. And to me, it'll become a question mark on whether they can bring these guys back and how good the roster will be for Trey Lance. We're going to talk about that ad nauseum, but that's why, to me, getting the veteran quarterback, getting Matthew Stafford, going and winning it all was the right decision. Look, I don't know if they could have traded for him because it feels like, there was some tampering going on with McVay in that hotel with Stafford. So I don't know if they could have gotten him. But, yeah, I felt that from probably June of 2020 that they should go get Matthew Stafford, and here we are.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he essentially was cheaper in the trade than Trey Lance was, right?
Yes.
Yes, in terms of what the Rams gave up draft picks. He was cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, he had to pay him more money.
Right. Because I think you also have to include the fact that one of the first round picks was literally to trade the albatross contract that was Jared Goff. It wasn't for Matthew Stafford.
The other thing about this, like I've seen a lot of Stafford now. I didn't see him before. You were the expert. I've seen him now, and my thing with Stafford is he's not a great quarterback. He's not great, but he's very good. And he's similar to Jimmy in the sense that a couple of times a game he makes a decision. I'm like, dude, why did you force that? He wasn't open. But then to take away those two plays, the difference between Jimmy and Stafford is stark. I mean, Stafford's out there without much of a run game, making really difficult downfield sideline throws that Jimmy doesn't really even attempt very often. And so what I want to say is, while he's not a great quarterback, if he were on this team, the Niners would be in the Super Bowl, which was your point. Of course. Which was your point.
There's 5 quarterbacks in the NFL every year. The Rodgers, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady's that regardless of roster, they'll carry their team, go to the playoffs. They can do everything. They'll put their team on the back. He's the guy that falls into the next tier, and he's always been like on top of that next tier. And early in his career was him. It was Matt Ryan. It was Carson Palmer. It was Tony Romo. All these guys that are really, really, really good. They're not, Jimmy Garoppolo, but they're not Aaron Rodgers. And if you give them a little bit of support, you could do wonders.
What the Niners have, what the Rams have.
And the Rams gave him that little bit of support. And I think so, too, because the Rams couldn't run the football this year.
No. So should the Niners have traded for Matthew Stafford? Yes. Let's answer a couple of questions. Adrian, we talk about Jimmy being the same guy and doesn't improve, but this is yet another playoff game where Shanny has had double-digit lead in the fourth quarter and he blows it. Thoughts? All right, let's do it right now. Is Kyle Shanahan a choker? I mean, I think he's been outscored 50-something to nothing in those fateful fourth quarters. So what's up, man?
So I don't think he's a choker. I'll start off by saying that. I don't believe he's a choker. I don't actually know, because I feel like the choker definition can be a little fluid. Sometimes people say it's a one-shot sample size. Then sometimes people say it's the entire fourth quarter. I feel like its sample size fits who we want to suit that narrative to. But I will say that him being a play caller that's been part of a team that's blown 3 different fourth quarter leads, and in all 3 of those games, the offense being unable to score any points, that is definitely it's alarming.
It's like 3 different teams, 3 different players. You'd think you'd have 3 different outcomes, and yet it's like eerily similar, uncannily similar. It's almost like, what is it about you?
And to me a little bit, this game really came down to I thought he could have trusted Garoppolo earlier in this game. Look, the Niners offense is about getting positive gains on first down. That's really how they live. Look, I know Garoppolo has been efficient on third down his entire time as Niners quarterback, but a lot of times the Niners are looking to stay out of third down. They're looking to get 6 yards on first down and move the sticks that way. They want to avoid the drop back pass game with their offensive line and their quarterback as much as possible. Analytically, the best way to get a positive gain on first down is throw the football on first down. The Niners are the opposite of that. They almost exclusively run the football on first down. In fact, they had different first downs in the last game. They ran the ball 12 times. They threw it 8 times, of which 2 of those were the last 2 drives when they were one was when they were tied, one they were trailing. So obvious pass situations. You need him to throw the ball, and he threw 2 incompletions. Jimmy Garoppolo through the first 3 quarters of this game was 4 or 5 for 31 yards on first down. The run game in this, between Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, 12 carries for 27 yards on first down. Deebo was 4 carries for 12 yards. Elijah Mitchell was 8 carries for 15 yards. The Rams were selling out to stop the run game.
Yep.
When he did throw the ball on first down, he had his first throw to Ayuk, which was a dart over the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. He had to throw to Elijah Mitchell. He had to throw on a little screen to Deebo. The way the Rams sold out to stop the run, how good Ayuk is, how good Kittle is, how good Deebo is, I thought that you could have thrown the ball a little bit more with him. Unfortunately, he doesn't trust him, obviously, Kyle Shanahan. Right. I mean, whatever you want to say, he does not want to put the game in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands. The Rams begged them to put the game in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, and he refused to. And maybe that's what kept them in the game for so long. But I felt like that was a game that you were going to have to win or lose with Jimmy, and we waited till the fourth quarter, and we lost with Jimmy.
So I don't know. We have to define what a choker is, but here's what I've seen from Kyle Shanahan. With the game on the line, he makes very erratic decisions, like things that he wouldn't do in the first 3 quarters, or things that he wouldn't do in the regular season. Like, for example, I kept saying he's grown this year, and he's a different coach, and he's not going to give away a lead in a championship game the way he did in the Super Bowl, because now he's going to lean on Deebo Samuel. And it's like 2nd and 1, you don't hand it to Deebo. 3rd and 2, you don't hand it to Deebo.
Here's my thing with that, Grant. Like, I understand. Like, I think after the Packers
one
game,
touch
they
for
blew
Deebo
the 4-1. I thought you got to get Deebo the ball.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But to me, the erraticness of the coaching errors comes in higher. I mean, forget the Falcons. The 2 situations with the Niners where he's the head coach. To me, it's under a greater magnifying glass because his margin for error is so small. Sean McVay had 2 of the worst challenges I've seen all year in this game.
My wife was roasting him. We were just like,
yeah.
Did he just do that? Did he just?
Yeah. He had 2 of the worst challenges I've seen all year. Yes. Why aren't we sitting here today talking about whether Sean McVay is a choker after his offense scored only 3 points?
He was totally pressing, right? He was pressing. Yes.
He was pressing. But why? Yes. His quarterback bailed him out. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Odell Beckham gave him a get out of jail free card. And when you look at it like that, that's where, I mean, is it Kyle Shanahan's fault that Jimmy Garoppolo started this year? I guess we can go there, but they still made the NFC Championship game, so they did have
Is it Kyle Shanahan's fault that Jaquiski Tartt dropped the interception? No. But what I want to say real quick, though, is like I've labeled Jimmy as a straight-up choker. To me, when he messed up that quarterback sneak in Dallas, I'm like, that's it. Because you would not mess that up in the 3rd quarter, in the regular season. That's nerves. And to me, Kyle, when he didn't call a timeout with 3 timeouts left on that delay of game, I'm like, what are you doing? To me, is the moment too big for you? What's up with that, man?
That entire sequence was a little bit odd, because then after that, I think the 3rd down, it felt like, or the first down of the next drive, or no, excuse me, it was the 3rd down, the play he threw the pick. It felt like the clock went to 0. Mac just snapped the ball. The rest of the offensive line was not ready, and Greg Gaines just beelined to Garoppolo, and that felt like he had no chance on that play. So I thought that maybe he should have taken a timeout in either one of those situations and recouped. But I mean, a lot of this
interesting that like Niner fans were very, very positive on Kyle. And I was taking a lot of crap. Everyone who ever suggested this season that he was doing a bad job was taking crap. And then once again, one bad quarter at the end of the season makes you rethink him. It's like, dude, is this what you're going to do every time? Are you going to get this far and then do stuff that's so uncharacteristic? Let me ask you real quick. What'd you think of not going for it on 4th and 2?
I'm analytically driven when it comes to that, so I would have preferred he went for it. My buddy Blake, who does the show, or when we were doing that YouTube show, he texted me and he said, for such a great play caller, Shanahan's so contented winning games with his defense.
Right.
And I thought that was kind of telling, because to me, 4th and 2, you have Deebo Samuel. He's the special player. You find a way to get him the ball. Yeah.
He can't get you 2. He got you 9 yards on 3rd and 7. I'm just saying, it's very, to me, all of a sudden, I was calling Kyle clutch last week, and now I'm like, dude, no, you're not. You're just like Jimmy.
Even though the defense only gave up 20 points, or throughout the game, I felt like as personally as a fan watching that game, I felt like if it came down to one possession, I didn't think the defense could, as good as they are, I think they're the best defense in the NFL. I didn't think they could stop Matthew Stafford in that offense. I thought Stafford played unbelievable from start to finish in this game. And if you look at it right, the tip ball interception in the red zone, that stopped points. Then Ben Skoranek dropping a touchdown when he's wide open in the end zone, that stopped points. Cooper Kupp dropping what would have been a house call, that saved some points. So, like, the Rams offense was a lot more successful in this game than just 20 points. Holding them to 20 points was special from the Niners defense. And that's why I thought he should have been even more aggressive on 4th and 2, because as good as the defense is, you had an opportunity to put the game away right there.
True. BP says there is no substitution for a pure passer in the NFL.
Yeah.
Look at the Rams. Is Stafford still special if he loses the Super Bowl in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, special choker. What do these words mean? All I'm saying is he's definitely better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And if he were on the Niners, they'd be in the Super Bowl right now. And if you gave Matthew Stafford this supporting cast, he wouldn't have a passer rating of 74 in the playoffs. I'll tell you that with confidence. Adrian says, I also feel like the play calling was some ass. Did they even run any tosses or play action? Why not get Kittle more involved for all the money he getting? Not a lot of play action, some tosses.
Yeah. Look, the Rams had a good feel for this game. The difference between these two teams was really the Niners schematically. I mean, they've played the Rams 3 times this year. They've seen everything the Rams do. The Rams see everything they do. The Rams went a little more old school in this game. They identified the Niners corners as a weakness, and they spread them out and threw the ball outside. They threw the ball outside the numbers. The Niners offense can't
exactly
do that.
What Tennessee did.
Yeah.
Just run comeback routes on the outside. That's what you're not going to get yards after the catch, but you'll convert some third downs. Love Debo, but he should have let that kickoff go out of bounds.
Yeah.
Bit surprised that no one brought it up among key moments. I always feel like the Niners special teams, with the exception of that one game, looks unprepared. Like they're in situations like, oh, I don't know what to do. That's your coach.
I thought Debo's kickoff returns were pretty bad in this game, and I thought it was just a product of they put Debo back on kickoff returns so that he can give them an explosive play because they're not sure how well their offense can do. I mean, we're talking about an offense that scored 2 touchdowns in 8 quarters in the playoffs. That doesn't get the job done. And because of that, I feel like Debo was pressing to return those kickoffs.
Agreed.
It was like, oh, I'm just going to bring this out and try to create something, even though our coverage is, All
right, let's talk blame. Immediately, I pointed to Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy and his 4.8 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter. A lot of people pointed to Kyle. Then a lot of people pointed to the defense in the secondary. Where do you fall on the blame pie here? How does it divvy up?
I don't know how to divvy it up right now. I think I'm still a little too emotional, so I don't want to just be, giving out blame to people undeservingly. I think my friend, Jaquaski Tart, that dropped interception, he owned it after the game. I don't look. A lot of people are comparing that to like Kyle Williams. There was 9 minutes left in that football game. Even with that interception, the Niners offense scored 0 points in the fourth quarter and did literally nothing in the fourth quarter. So let's say they get a field goal off that possession. The score is still 20-14, and there's no telling what the Rams do to go down the field because they had moved the ball down the field basically that entire game. The Rams had moved the ball with success. That's why they had 25 more offensive plays than the 49ers. They were moving the ball better. I thought the defense did get a little bit worn out, which was pretty impressive. I didn't expect the Rams to be able to go do that. I mean, 11 for 18 on third down it's unheard of. It's brilliant stuff. But my man, he does get some blame. There's no doubt. I think Kyle Shanahan, just being the head coach, being the play caller of an offense that scores,
having another 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
That scores 2 touchdowns in 8 quarters. I think he deserves blame from that standpoint. I think Garoppolo deserves blame. I thought he was pretty awful in the fourth quarter. I thought he played okay, actually, throughout the game. I thought this was actually one of his best playoff games early in the game. I thought, the throw to Ayuk might have been one of the best throws we've seen Garoppolo make.
Other thing, though, is that it felt like he was throwing risky passes and that the interception was overdue to me. At least watching it on television, watching it on TV.
I also felt that, but I think it's also just a product of us watching Garoppolo so much and knowing that he makes.
I've never heard Aikman talk about Jimmy, but he's got no respect for Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like, I guess there's something he does well, but I can't see it. Is basically his attitude, which is my attitude.
Aikman is the nicest tough guy in sports media. He says everything in a nice way, but he's actually brutally harsh in his assessment of most quarterbacks.
He's like a more polite version of Brian Griese, who just thinks everyone sucks. I'm sorry.
But at least Aikman is much more accomplished than Griese, who just frankly gets annoying sometimes on the Monday night broadcast.
So to me, I would put it mostly on Jimmy, because when a quarterback has a 4.8 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter, what are you going to do? But to me, who started Jimmy? Who decided that Jimmy should have been starting all year? I think even the people that were the most conservative coming into this season, we talked about it all offseason, start Jimmy at first, but make the transition midway. No one said start Jimmy all year. And the fact that the Niners did, to me, that was Kyle's decision. So you don't trust Jimmy with the game on the line? Well, that's your guy, dude.
I also do want to assign a little bit more blame. To me, D'Amico Ryans actually does deserve blame for this loss. And I think it's because the Niners defense did go against tendency a little bit. I saw them playing cover 2 multiple times in this game. One of them was the Odell Beckham hole shot right after the interception. One of the plays they were in cover 2, Ambry Thomas was basically in no man's land covering no one, which led Cooper Kupp to be isolated on Jaquiski Tartt, leading for that touchdown. I know a lot of people blame Tartt. I mean, he has a two-way go. He can go inside or out, and he's a safety covering him to the back pylon with Stafford blowing dots. Yeah. Exactly. There's not much Tartt can do in that situation. And then I thought he blitzed a lot more than what I expected. And he sent a lot of 5-6 man pressures, and they played a lot more man coverage than what I expected. And Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp kind of ate them up on third down. And Stafford was standing in those tight pockets under pressure. And, Stafford's the number 1 quarterback against the blitz this year. And blitzing Stafford, that just seemed a little bit odd because they had so much success throughout the season. Just
his final touchdown pass was a TD against a blitz on 3rd and 3. I don't like blitzing on 3rd and 3 because the hot route is open and that gets you a first down. You blitz on 3rd and 7. 3rd and 8.
Yeah. I mean, again, he had a phenomenal season. He had a phenomenal season as a play caller. He had a phenomenal season as a game planner, all of that. But if we're assigning blame, and this was just off of TV watch, maybe I'll watch the film and I'll feel totally different about it. But when I watched it on TV, I thought that he got away a little bit from what his defense has done so well throughout this season. And maybe he was also pressing a little bit because he felt like his defense, this was the kind of game that his defense needed to make 1 or 2 plays to win it, because the Niners offense, really outside of one play from Deebo Samuel on a screen pass, didn't have much to offer in this game as support. They weren't sustaining drives. They weren't converting third downs. They went 3 for 9 on third down. Garoppolo himself was pretty pathetic on third down. He was 3 for 8, 35 yards and an interception. And you juxtapose that to Stafford, who was 10 for 14, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That's where the game is. One team had a quarterback who could drop back under pressure and make big-time throws. One team did it. And the sad part is the Niners' offensive line held up in this game against Von Miller and Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald. They played their asses off. Trent Williams played his ass off with hurt ankle. And
Timothy says, not getting Kittle more targets in the playoffs is poor coaching. A good quarterback is able to punish the Rams for selling out to stop the run. Agree on the second part. What's interesting about Kittle, this year he had 14 targets, 7 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. 2019, 13 targets, 8 catches, 71 yards, no touchdowns. Why don't they get the ball to him in the playoffs? What is that?
I mean, they've been running the ball. Some of it is quarterback. I mean, obvious pass situations, yeah.
Yeah, well, all the more reason for George Kittle to get on the Trey Lance bandwagon. Good news, no more hospital passes with Jimmy gone, says Milf Hunter.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. They talked about how Debo defended him in the very next play. He just throws Debo into a headshot.
I'm so sorry, Debo. RWJ all day, thank you. Milf Hunter, don't blame Kyle. He has Jimmy at quarterback. He's handicapped. Dude.
He starts his quarterback.
Vish tried to help him. Vish told him all offseason, get Stafford. Kyle didn't listen. Kyle becomes unreasonably conservative in his play calling when he has a lead late in ball games. I would almost rather he be trailing going into the fourth quarter. That's a good call.
I don't know if that's exactly fair, because if he gets aggressive and throws the ball, everyone's like, why did he get so aggressive? Run the football. Your run game's working. I didn't think this was a game
his main point is I trust him more being down than being up. That's fair.
Yeah.
He was better in Green Bay being down.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, McVay had never won a game down 10 going into the fourth quarter until yesterday. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes you just have a quarterback that changes things, and they had a quarterback who changed things. And maybe Trey Lance will become that quarterback who changes things for Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure his numbers, I mean, the way they lost the Super Bowl in Atlanta was brutal, but what him and Matt Ryan did was historic. And I'm sure if him and Matt Ryan were together for 10 years, they would have each won a Super Bowl by now.
The Niners believed they could overcome Jimmy Garoppolo, but instead of losing the Super Bowl, they lost the NFC Championship. Yep, that's true. That is true.
I mean, they lost the game it was almost a similar fashion to the way they lost the Super Bowl.
Okay, let's talk about Jimmy a little bit. Well, it's Jimmy season now. It's Jimmy trade season. We acknowledge that he does good things. He certainly does good things. But what I've been saying for the last couple months, sort of in a colorful way, calling him the arsonist, the liability, is that while he does do good things, to me, he's a net negative as a player. Is that too harsh?
In the playoffs, I don't think it's too harsh. I don't know what else to say. You know, Mina Kimes took a lot of heat for saying Garoppolo is the guy in the class project who gets an A without doing any work. And, you know, I'm yet to see a statistical or logical argument that says otherwise, other than the fact that they've won. And I took a lot of heat for saying Jimmy Garoppolo has been objectively terrible in these playoffs. And I'm yet to see something that makes me disagree. His passer rating in the playoffs is, 73? And that's with a really strong run game, a good offensive line, a great play caller, an all-pro tight end, an all-pro receiver, and a very good number 3 receiver.
And a great defense.
Number 3 receiving option, and Brandon Ayuk, and a great defense. And I think, to me, when people go the game manager route, right, if you're going to say he's Alex Smith or Trent Dilfer, here's the thing with Alex Smith, okay? Alex Smith played well in the playoffs in Kansas City at times. He played really well for the Niners in 2011 in the playoffs. 2012 was okay, but here's the thing to me with the game manager. This is the hallmark of the game manager. They won't win you that game, but they also won't lose the game.
They won't lose it.
And the issue that I have with Jimmy Garoppolo in his 125 pass attempts or so in the playoffs is that he's thrown, 6 interceptions? Yes. The problem with Garoppolo is that he makes plays that's why I go to the magic picks he does, because at times his record can be baffling because he makes some dumb plays that really essentially lose you games, like an interception in the red zone against Green Bay, on the road against Lambeau. At Lambeau, I mean, ask Matthew Stafford what happens if you do that when you're in Detroit. You lose by 30 and everybody says you're Pat Stafford and you're not a good player. You can never win in the playoffs, all of that. And they still won that game with him doing that. Against Dallas, there's no possible way Dallas could have gotten back into that game until he throws a dumb interception into the flat, gives Dallas the ball at the 49ers 3-yard line. Dallas scores the next play, and now Dallas is back in the football game. Then Dallas should have never gotten the ball back at the end of the game, but he got too excited, didn't let Trent Williams get set, which, you know, most quarterbacks know better. And now Dallas gets the ball back. And
Jimmy knows better. Jimmy knows. He just anyway.
And we're talking about 14 seconds. So net negative is harsh, right? Because he's not a net negative in the regular season at all. He's a real starting quarterback
in the NFL. Yeah.
He's a solid player. He clearly has a very positive effect on his teammates and and in his locker room. They don't say bad things about him. They genuinely like him. You can see that they like him and they play for him. There's nothing wrong with those things. But he makes egregious mistakes in these playoff games that really end up hurting the 49ers. And unfortunately, I mean, it won't be reflected in the record, but when you come down to it in the Kansas City game and the Rams game, really his 2 playoff losses, these are mistakes that he's made in those other games that didn't hurt them, and they got extra magnified in these moments.
Right. So is Garoppolo a net negative? I think yes. Vish is more diplomatic than I am, and I guess the correct answer is we'll see. He's got a lot more career ahead of him. I'm not really optimistic that he's going to be able to take his magic pixie dust, to use your phrase, with him to whatever team he goes to next. But if he does, man, God love him. Only thing I want to point out real quick, Alex Smith, 2-5 in the playoffs, right? Not the quarter. I think a lot of Niner fans are ready to say that Jimmy was a better quarterback than Alex Smith. And when Alex Smith, 7 playoff games, 14 touchdown passes, 2 picks.
Yeah.
As opposed to Jimmy, who had 6 playoff games, 4 touchdown passes, 6 picks. I mean,
I think he had 378 yards. He had 378 yards and 4 touchdowns the year they were up like 38-7, and Andrew Luck came back on them in Lucas Oil Stadium. Kansas City was the first team to never turn over the ball and lose a game like that. I think that's what it was. He played outstanding versus the Saints in that playoff game. Made one of the best games I've ever seen.
So he had 15 touchdowns in the playoffs to 2. He was really good. 2-5 though. And even Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was 4-2 as well. He had 11 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 5 picks, 87 quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez, 4-2.
Kaepernick had some iconic playoff moments. Like, I understand, Micah Hyde pulled what Tart did in the Packers game at Lambeau, but do you know how hard it is to lead a late drive in Lambeau in the freezing cold and go win a game? Kaepernick did do that.
I forgot that he threw that right to Micah Hyde, man.
And I've seen the Montana Cincinnati drive, and before he hits John Taylor, he smacks the Bengals player in the chest too.
That's true.
So with Stafford, I'm sure everybody's gonna remember it, and they're gonna keep texting me about it because it's whatever. And I'm disappointed that Tart didn't pick it off because I'm a big fan of Tart. I think he's a hell of a player, and I think he deserves.
I feel bad for Tart because it was such a big stage. It's going to be how he's remembered unless he gets back to a big stage and makes a play. It's football.
Yeah. I don't actually think that, Grant. Marcus Williams has been playing really well for the Saints for a little while now. Marcus Williams.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't even know who that is. The guy who gave up the Minnesota Miracle.
He's the guy in the NFC. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Hey, Tart, I hope you can go out like that too because he deserved to go out like that. He's had a solid career. That's a hell of a career.
He's a good player.
Okay. Randy says, wouldn't it be better for all parties if they just cut Jimmy rather than trade him for a low pick? Let's go right there. Jimmy's destination. It seems to me that we were talking about it, but there may be a team, depending on who they hire as their coach. Why don't you break it down?
So I've been talking about the Garoppolo situation this way for a little while. To me, his best option is to do what Ryan Tannehill did. Go to a place where they have a high draft pick at quarterback that they're not 100% sure about. Maybe you sit for 4 games, but if the team has a lot of talent, you can be the guy for the future because they might have pressure to win. At first, I really thought that place was the New York Giants. Now that they hired Brian Daboll, I think that changes. But to me, there's reports that the Miami Dolphins are zeroing in on Mike McDaniel as their next head coach. To me, that's really the best spot for Garoppolo. I think he would be good with Mike McDaniel, who I am assuming is going to run the same exact offense that Kyle Shanahan runs. So that'll be good for him. To me, Tua is left-handed Jimmy G, but with an even weaker arm. And so I actually think Garoppolo is a better quarterback. I think the biggest question with Garoppolo, because I think he's very tradable. I think teams would like to have him. He's a real starting quarterback. He's a good player, clearly. But to me, the biggest question is his contract. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a question of, I think the Niners getting a higher pick for Garoppolo will also be somewhat contingent on the fact that will they stomach some of the $25 million cap blow? Because if Garoppolo's cap for a better pick, right? If if Garoppolo's contract turns into a 1-year, $12 million deal, so you split the deal essentially evenly, you split the $25 million. I think teams would be ecstatic to have him. I think they'd give up a second-round pick.
Might get that second-round pick for him.
First-round pick, yeah.
Maybe you will. Okay, all right.
So, I think that's going to be the big question. I like Miami as a destination for him with Mike McDaniel. If Mike McDaniel goes there, although I'm kind of hoping that Kellen Moore somehow wins out and gets that job. But hold on,
does he go there to back up Tua, or yes, he goes there to back up Tua. And you're saying in the way that Tannehill backed up Mariota, it kind of waits for Tua to do what Tua does.
Yeah,
fair. I think it's a good plan. I like it.
Because honestly, I don't know if there's a place that he can go today and immediately start unless I see the dominoes of Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, all those guys. Once their dominoes fall, like we could say Denver, right? But Denver's going to be in on the Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers game.
No, the key here is Mike McDaniel, clearly.
Right.
You got a guy who is hot and is going to go somewhere as a head coach and might need to bring some familiar faces with him. It seems to make sense. Yeah. Yes. Because look, Mike McDaniel's probably brilliant. Sure is brilliant. I don't know what his network is. You know what I mean? How connected is it? So anyway, Jimmy's part of it. RWJ all day. Thank you. Jaden says, very fun year. I'm happy we got this year. Upset we lost, but super excited for Trey season. Let's go, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Kyle and the coaching staff did a great job this year in spite of Jimmy. This team has heart. Kyle's still young. He'll grow with Lance. Thank you. We'll get a couple more. Jennings was wide open behind Ramsey on the near pick to Ayuk. Early in the game, the one on third down, bang, bang, Cabo.
It's the one he rolled out.
Okay. Are we sure Vish is just a fan? He didn't hesitate on scroll, whatever his name is. What's his name?
Ben
Skowronek,
yeah.
Ben Skowronek.
I remember him at Notre Dame.
I don't remember him Notre Dame. RWJ all day. Thank you very much. Last one, then we'll get back to the show. Isn't it time to thank Jimmy for his service? It's obvious he's not coming back and we're irrelevant.
Well, I'm not here to do a little farewell for Jimmy. I love Jimmy. I loved him as the quarterback for the 49ers, so I don't want to give him a farewell or anything. That's not nice to him.
Deuces.
I'll wait to do that.
What more does he need? He got $100 million. He got a parade every time he threw it, a touchdown pass. Everyone, peace, man. Have a good time.
As a fan,
I'm not a fan.
As a fan, I do think Garoppolo being the quarterback, he was part of, the 49ers growing back into relevance in the NFL, though to me, the biggest part of that is Kyle Shanahan. And so him being the quarterback of that, you're definitely like, I definitely liked, I wouldn't say I definitely 100% as a fan loved Garoppolo every minute of every game, but I like the fact that the 49ers won when he was on the field. So
but yo, you pointed out the key stat, the fact that they lost all those games before he got here by like 1, 2, 3 points.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden started winning games by 1, 2, 3 points.
Greatest 0-9 team, the greatest 0-9 team in ever NFL history. And to me, even his 5-0 streak in 2017 showed you how special this coaching staff was, because really they needed competent QB play, and all of a sudden they're beating teams. And they're beating teams with a lot of really young players starting.
Yeah. Thanks, Grant. See you in March, April. Where you going, man? We got a lot to talk about. Hold on. All right, we got more. This is interesting. Deebo Samuel just had the best season I've seen a skill position player have in a long time. He plays a very physical brand of football, kind of like George Kittle. I'm thinking Deebo Samuel played through a lot of stuff we didn't know about this year. Most football players do. Are you prepared to give this guy $20, $21, $22 million? And if the Niners do you expect him to play like this every year? What's your thought process?
Yeah, I am prepared to give him that money. Mm-hmm. I think, it's really easy to say, and I'm a Pistons fan, okay, for the NBA. So, it's weird. Okay. I'm a Pistons fan.
All right.
So it's really easy as a fan to sit here and say, well, you can't pay that player or don't pay that player. I used to say it all so easily about the Pistons. Don't play Andre Drummond. He's not that good of a big. Well, you have to pay somebody. And if Andre Drummond, you drafted him and, he's become maybe one of the best player on your team and he's
still an asset.
Player worth keeping, well, you have to pay him because
he's still an asset.
You have to sell tickets. There's a business aspect to all of it. So to me, Deebo Samuel was a no-brainer. You pay him.
Also, if you pay Deebo and he don't, you can trade him. He's an asset. You don't just let the guy go. Same thing with Bosa.
By the way, I'm not comparing Deebo to Andre Drummond. I'm just comparing how easy it is to say, don't pay him.
I think the comparison is Kittle. We've seen this with Kittle. Kittle in 2018 played through about 18 injuries, never talked about it, was great. Then you get paid a ton of money, and all of a sudden, I just don't think you can do that anymore. It's like, it's not just human nature. It's like, it's the right. You have to protect your body.
Look, Grant, I think generally Deebo can't match this season. I think he was so historic in this season, even if he plays extremely well. I think this offseason, one of the biggest question marks defensive coordinators are going to answer is how do we stop Deebo Samuel? Right. And I think we're going to see a lot of creative plans to stop Deebo Samuel.
Pretty good yesterday with the exception of one play.
Yeah, the Rams were phenomenal. And so I think they still absolutely have to pay him because to me, the 49ers offense has not found any solutions on how they're going to get this run game, pass game, everything going without number 19 on the field.
You saw what the offense looked like in the fourth quarter when he was basically not involved.
Not to mention we saw what it looked like when they played the one game without him. They played versus Seattle without him, right?
Also, you want to transition to Trey Lance and make life easy for him? How about you get rid of Deebo Samuel? Right. How's that going to go?
And it's going to make your run game more dynamic. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You pay him. To me,
but there is a little bit of trepidation, to use an awful word, right? Because you already know where this is going in a sense.
I think the only fear, right, with Deebo is going to be the injuries because even though he stayed healthy this season, he had a couple issues, niggles in his rookie year, and then he had obviously an entire injury-filled season in 2020. Now, I think the thing that's special about Deebo is he seems to be the kind of athlete like Kittle is that is very conscious about the fact that he has gotten injured and is very conscious about trying to not get injured.
Of course.
Now, I don't know if he can prevent it in any way. Sometimes I feel like athletes can just be unlucky. But Deebo is also a little bit of a freak where athletes his size don't usually move like him. He's 220 and he carries his weight and he plays a different physical style brand, but he's also 220 playing that physical style brand while being the most explosive football player on the field, which is a little shocking mix. So to me, I think he should get paid $20 million. To me, the Niners 2019 draft was an absolute home run. They drafted 2 franchise players, one in the first round, one in the second round. Nick Bosa is their franchise defensive player. Deebo Samuel is their franchise offensive player. They drafted him in the first round, in the second round. So to me, they absolutely have to pay him. It's a no-brainer. He had one of the most special seasons ever. But I do think there is a little bit of conversation.
I'm sure the Niners are concerned about it too. I'm sure they're thinking about it. I'm sure they're going to protect themselves a little bit. I don't know if they're going to make him the highest paid wide receiver in the league. They're going to find a way to be like, look, you're kind of a running back too. You had a little bit of you missed some time in 2020. I don't know how they're going to make him a little bit more affordable, but I bet they will. Do you think both of these deals, him and Bosa, get done before the season starts?
Yeah, before the season starts for sure. I think the Niners have to get those deals done soon so that they can see what their cap situation is going to be like.
Oh, you actually think it'll get done in the next couple of months? Wow.
I think so. I think especially Bosa. Bosa's deal to me is just he tells you how much he wants. It's probably going to be similar to what his brother got. It's going to be $30+ million. You need to know how you're going to fit that in with Trent Williams' contract, which is also there. And that's what kind of worries me. That's what kind of worries me with the Niners, because they're going to transition, because they've drafted so well and they've developed young players so well. They're going to transition to being a very top-heavy team naturally, because they're going to have 7 players who are the highest paid players in their position. So,
Kobe says if Lance took over after the Texans wins, we'd be on the way to the Super Bowl. Look, we'll never know, but I've been really campaigning for him to start since that game, and I don't know, man. Ever since Garoppolo got hurt in Tennessee, I think he had some good moments against LA, but essentially played poorly in this game, and I think he's been bad. Was that four games in a row? Was that 4 games in a row? No, 5 games in a row.
I don't know if you can guarantee that, because it's not like, Lance has played promising, and we also throw in the caveat he's a rookie. He's so talented, all of that, but it's not like Lance just played against the Texans and the Cardinals and just played like a superstar quarterback, right? He also had his ups and downs.
It's true, but it would have been interesting if Kyle had been like, you know what, Jimmy's hurt. It's a very serious injury. He wants to play. I'm shutting him down. We're going with the kid. I know that's a scary move, and probably the locker room wasn't behind it, but it'd be interesting to know what would have been different. I mean, they won a game because of divine intervention in Green Bay. I still don't think that Jimmy was a big part in their last month. He did do nice things in November for sure, but I feel like it'd be interesting to know what would have happened if Kyle had just.
Do you think? I mean, the question is, do you think? Because look, I'm not saying Lance would have been. I'm not saying Lance is Sanchez, okay? I'm saying Lance in this playoff run, to me, also, if you played him, would not have been a big part. To me, whoever played quarterback the way the Niners were winning games would not have been a big part, which is what Sanchez was for the Jets when they went to the playoffs. Though his playoff numbers are actually not bad. His regular season numbers are terrible. His playoff numbers were actually not that bad. They won a lot of road playoff games. They won at New England with Mark Sanchez starting at quarterback. Pretty impressive.
9 touchdowns, 3 picks in 6 playoff games. I was surprised.
And they were also the team that changed Chad Ochocinco back to Chad Johnson because Darrelle Revis did a little number on him. But the funny thing to me is that I don't know if you can guarantee he would have won, because to me, no matter what, the quarterback wasn't going to be a big part of why the 49ers won this year. But that's also why a lot of us said just start Trey Lance, because we know you're not a quarterback-driven team. So just let the rookie play, because we don't feel
you're not a quarterback-driven team, and Jimmy still finds a way to lose games despite it not being about him. I'm sorry. That's where I'm going back to the negative thing. RWJ all day says next year, Mostert, Mitchell, Kittle, Debo, Brandon, and Trey Lance. You think Mostert's coming back? Is his knee cool?
I don't know. I think bringing Mostert back, Mostert would be a positive for the Niners. I'm not sure what a positive he is for other teams, but for the Niners, he's a massive positive. But at what point do you just say you can't rely upon him?
Haberman and Middlecoff, Niners are a team that doesn't shoot threes and only goes for 2s in a 3-point shooting league. Jimmy limits the offense. I think that's a very good analogy. I think they are basically a team that is a mid-range shooting team in that sense. Okay, couple more.
I don't know if that's exactly fair, because they hit a lot of explosive in the run game. They hit a lot more explosives in the run game than other teams. And I mean, the middle of the field passing game is the bread and butter for 90% of teams in the NFL. So I don't know if it's exactly fair, honestly, to say that. I think Jimmy limits them in a lot of ways, but
we got 2 more topics. This one's a little bit of a quickie and then a bigger one after. Do the 49ers overuse Elijah Mitchell? Like they use him like he's Terrell Davis or LaDainian Tomlinson. He's good, but I almost feel like there's diminishing returns at a certain point.
I think so. And I thought yesterday's game was a product of, I thought Elijah Mitchell got too many carries. He had 11 carries for 20 yards, which isn't great. Rams had a good plan to stop the run. It's not all his fault. But I'm shocked because I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is a good player. And I know Jeff Wilson Jr. is banged up with his ankle and all of that. So I don't want to get into this game. But to me, Jeff Wilson Jr., once Elijah Mitchell came back from injury, the second half of the season has not really been a part of this team at all, even though he came back from his torn meniscus. To me, they've become very Elijah Mitchell-centric when they're running the football with their running backs. And to me, this game was a product of that. I talked about the first down numbers, right? To me, this game on first down, if you look at both these teams, it's actually very similar. Niners had 12 carries for 27 yards, right? The Rams had 15 carries for 37 yards on first down. So it wasn't like both teams were running the ball on first down. Both teams were hammering it. And Stafford was only 9 for 15, 86 yards on first down. So it wasn't like Stafford was tearing them up on first down either. He was tearing them up on third down. But here's the big problem. Elijah Mitchell was 8 carries for 15 yards on first down. 8 carries for 15 yards on first down. 7 of his carries were for 2 yards. No, excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, 5 of his carries were for 2 yards or less. He had 8 carries for 15 yards, of which he had a 9-yard carry. So
next year I'd like to see more Chase Herman. I'd like to see most of
7 carries for 6 yards on first down. To me,
I'd like to see a more diverse usage of Mitchell too. Throw him the ball. When they throw him a screen, it's a good play.
He had success in the pass game.
Yes.
Look, I don't want to put it on Elijah Mitchell because maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. would have had those same rushing numbers. Even Debo, being the freak he is, one of the 3 or 4 best running backs in the NFL, even though he's a wide receiver. He only had 4 carries for 12 yards on first down. But to me, a lot of this game for the Niners offense was the fact that they weren't able to get positive runs on first down. And it put them behind the 8 ball. And it's why they struggled so much on offense. And to me, they had 1 drive and 1 big play from Deebo Samuel, and that was their offense for the entire game, which isn't good enough to win a playoff game on the road against a really good team like the Rams.
This team is too talented to have so much of their offense go through Elijah Mitchell. He's good, but there are way better position players on this team to have so much of the offense go through him. Now, to me, what he is he's a physical embodiment of Kyle's conservative nature. He's never fumbled in his career. Going back to college, that's why he gets the ball.
He's a good player, too. There's no doubt about it. He's a good player. But, and I thought this was a game that Brandon Ayuk really could have taken over this game. I really did think it was a game, and that's where it goes back to I thought they should have thrown the ball a bit more on first down and put the game on Garoppolo a little bit more because Ayuk had 100 yards in their Week 18 game, his only 100-yard game of the regular season. I thought he played exceptionally well in this game, too. I think he gives Darius Williams some fits, especially because they focus so much on their defense of stopping Debo and Kittle. It really puts him in good one-on-one situations against a very okay player in Darius Williams, and Ayuk handled him. And I thought, this might be a game where you can ride him a little bit.
That's hilarious to me.
Yeah,
you call him a very. That's great. That is Darius Williams, a very okay player. Love that. I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going. Okay.
So that's just kind of where I stand. I again, it's really hard to just look at the broadcast of a game and be a fan and off raw emotions say that this is what they should have done or shouldn't have done. So I don't want to say that, but I do think that Ayuk had a bigger role to play in this game than what he had. To be fair to him, they did throw him a screen in the fourth quarter and Jimmy Garoppolo one-hopped it to him. So
I had to replay that 3 times. I was like, did I just see what I freaking think I saw? I was like, that ball got tipped, right? No.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, it must have gotten tipped, right? No.
He short-armed it.
Okay, last topic, and then we'll take some questions. I'll let Vish go. What are your expectations for next season? What are your expectations for next season? It seems to me if the Niners had made the NFC Championship with Lance, everyone's expectations would be through the roof. Well, they're going to be the Super Bowl winner next year. They're going to be the Bengals next year. But it's murky now because they're going to have a new starter who started 2 games 3 games the last 2 years. So what are your expectations for next season?
Honestly, at this point, I don't have expectations. Like, you have to win the Super Bowl. You have to do this because I think there's a lot of offseason decisions that the 49ers need to make. And until they make those decisions, we don't know what kind of roster they have. We don't know how good their team's going to be and all of that. Then once we see that, I do think there's going to be growing pains with Trey Lance. I think as talented as he is, as good as his supporting cast is, all of those things might be true. I think there's still going to be growing pains because he's a young player. I mean, the only player I've ever seen that didn't really have growing pains is Patrick Mahomes. And even he had growing pains, but it's not really growing pains because he's throwing for 50 touchdowns.
And I expect to see him grow. Yeah. That's the whole thing. There's a payoff with the pain.
Yeah.
I expect to see him improve.
So because of that, I don't necessarily want to sit here and say now with Trey Lance the next year they should go win the Super Bowl, because Trey Lance might be playing with a much worse roster. Deebo Samuel might be injured for 6 games next year. Knock on wood that doesn't happen. But, these type of things can happen, which totally changes the win and loss outlook of the 49ers, which is why I always say wins and losses are not a QB stat. It's not on the quarterback, right? When you go to Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard's record without Jimmy Garoppolo, you also have to talk about the fact that Nick Bosa didn't play last year. Deebo Samuel didn't play a lot of last year. George Kittle was hurt for a lot of last year. Some of those games, Ayuk was out. Some of those games, Trent Williams was out. So you have to talk about all those things when you're talking about wins and losses on the quarterback. Yeah. And to me, when you're talking about it with Trey Lance, that's why you can't say, oh, go win the Super Bowl. Oh, go win the NFC Championship game. To me, the expectations is, honestly, my one expectation is I walk out of the 2022-2023 football season, no matter how good the 49ers are, and I say, damn, they have a star at quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's the only expectation I have as a fan. I want to walk out of that season thinking, wow, Trey Lance is that guy. The way Chargers fans can feel about Justin Herbert, the way Bengals fans can feel about Joe Burrow, the way Bills fans can feel about Josh Allen. As a football fan and a fan of the San Francisco 49ers, that's all I want to feel. That's my only expectation coming out of 2022-2023. Because to me, with how good Shanahan is, how good some of the other players on the roster are, if he's that guy, things will fall into place by themselves.
I have extremely high expectations for this team. Maybe it's unreasonable. I know they're losing a lot of depth, and losing Tart, K1 could be tough, but I think the Niners have shown that they're very good at finding depth, whether it's late in the draft, the bargain bin of free agency. I mean, depth usually isn't their problem, and they still have the core of their team intact, and they're actually going to get their best quarterback on the field next year. I'm incredibly optimistic for this team next season. Also, I want to say I think Brandon Ayuk's going to have a big year next year. The whole Brandon Ayuk saga this year doesn't make sense to me. He was pretty much put in the doghouse for half the season. The Niners never really communicated why. First, they said he's not in the doghouse. Then they said he's out of the doghouse, and it's because he's doing something better, but we don't really want to say what, practicing, running harder. They never really said it. And to me, when he got the ball, he was good. I think Trey Lance is going to target him a lot more because although Ayuk isn't a 4-3, 4-4 guy, he does most of his work down the field. He runs a lot of double moves. He needs a quarterback who wants to hold the ball a little bit longer and push it down the field. And now he's got one. So I think Ayuk entering year 3, kind of like Deebo this year, is going to have a lot to prove in a quarterback who wants to get in the ball. Ayuk.
I mean, the Niners have had a year 3 star just about every season. Fred Warner was a year 3 star last year. Deebo was a year 3. So it might be Ayuk. It could be Ayuk.
They could. I mean, who else could it be? Jennings? Could be Jennings.
They only drafted 4 players. It could be McKivitz.
Check on 3rd and 10 where he caught it 2 yards in front of it and then powered pass for another.
Yeah, that was a big play in that game.
That was a huge big play in a playoff game. That guy's good. So what I have high expectations for this team is stacked. I mean, I guess we both expect a little bit of regression from Deebo Samuel because he doesn't have that got to get the contract push anymore. But still, I expect.
I just expect that regression because he had one of the great seasons we've seen in a long time. Yeah.
I expect a bounce back year from Kittle. I expect a Pro Bowl season from Kittle. I mean, Armstead had a down game yesterday, but I expect him to pick up where he left off.
Yeah, I expect him to continue to dominate. Yeah.
This team should be really good.
I agree. This team is really good, but again, to me, when we're talking about how far they can go, and I think that's where the conversation happens when we talk about wins and losses, those are the subtle things that make the difference. Because it is a big difference to me if you're starting Hufanga at safety for 17 games instead of Tart. It's a big difference to me. So I think we'll have to see what happens. But honestly, I'm with you, Grant. They have some players that are truly, forget the quarterback for a second. Deebo Samuel is truly one of the better players in the NFL. Nick Bosa is that. Trent Williams is that. Fred Warner is absolutely that. George Kittle is that. Ayuk is maybe the best third option on an offense in the entire NFL. Like,
and I think he's got upside. I still think he has upside.
And the Chiefs offense, they're missing one thing, right? They're missing what Sammy Watkins was supposed to be, because they have Hill and Kelsey. They don't have that third guy. The Niners have their Hill and Kelsey, and they have that third guy too.
They do.
So it's spectacular across the board. We'll just see what happens.
We'll see. We got Vish for 5 more minutes. Let's take some questions, then I'll let him go. Thanks for the coverage this season. Thank you, Eddie. Bullpup 33 says, didn't the Rams score after the failed interception? So, yeah, the failed interception was huge.
They kicked a field goal. The score became 17-17. The Niners offense got the ball back, went 3 and out. Rams offense got the ball back, kicked another field goal. Niners offense got the ball again and went 3 and out. And there's your football game.
Coach B says the moral of the season is you can't have mediocre corners and quarterback. Can't wait to see the Niners offense stretch the field next season. I agree. As much as we talked about the quarterback, we also talked a lot about the cornerbacks this year. And though Ambry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley had good moments, Mosley was good in this game.
I thought Mosley played outstanding again.
Yeah, I don't think Ambry Thomas and K1 did. So I think Thomas,
they had tough matchups. They had tough matchups, though.
But that's the NFL, though. That's the whole thing. Like, you're going to have tough matchups. So win the Super Bowl, you need some corners who are better than good, and Mosley's raised his game to excellent, I think. I don't know.
That's the thing, though, right? With Mosley and Verrett, this would be a defense as good as 2019.
Do you think Kyle and the Niners didn't prepare as well because of the 6-0 record before the game?
No, I thought they were well prepared. They followed the same template that beat the Rams the last whatever times. This time, Matthew Stafford played outstanding. And really, I thought the one thing that was hurting the Rams was McVay. McVay was trying to get too cute. McVay was trying to get too cute on the 4th and 1. When they dropped Stafford just back and said, you throw the ball, we'll give you a decent protection plan where we're going to give you an extra half second than what we gave you in week 18. Stafford diced him up. Stafford made throws in this game that Aaron Rodgers, those type of guys are supposed to make in big moments. I mean, people won't give him that credit because of how they've already, set their perception in their mind about who he is and what he doesn't do and what he does do. But he made some outstanding throws in big moments in this game. He's a great quarterback.
Keith Murphy says he does good things for the opposition. I think he's talking about Jimmy, and I would agree. Humperdinck McGillicuddy III says Jimmy G is the quarterback version of Russian roulette. You're happy when it works out, but you shouldn't be playing that game in the first place. That is one of the best comments of the year. Love it. I'm going to read it again because it's so good. Jimmy G is the quarterback version of Russian roulette. You're happy when it works out, but you shouldn't be playing that game in the first place. Thank you, man. And you got a lot of people like arguing for the virtues of Russian roulette. You don't die every time you play the game. You have a 5 out of 6% chance of winning. That's great odds of not dying. Well, you died that one time. Well, it's all right. That was his life. Sean McVay manages talent better than Shanahan, who only runs his hot hand into the ground. Kittle, Mostert, Eli, Debo, etc.
I don't know what I think that the perception of McVay, if the Rams had lost this game, would have been bad. Those two challenges were bad. In a close football game, to lose all 3 timeouts with 12 minutes left in the game, that was awful game management. Awful.
Right, but V's talking about talent management here. I'm not sure he's wrong. I'm not saying McVay's good at it, but I'm not sure he's wrong with what he's saying. Think about it.
I disagree.
My issue with Kyle is, again, like, you couldn't get the ball to Debo in the 4th quarter. You didn't get the ball to Debo on that. It's like talent usage. When you get to me, D'Amico's better at it than him.
But to me, but here's the thing, Grant. As special as Debo is, this was not a game that Debo really was dominating, right? He had 7 carries for 26 yards in the run game. Maybe he should have gotten a couple carries that Elijah Mitchell got. Agreed with that. But it wasn't like you were getting a real push out of Debo in the run game. And then he had the one play in the pass game. Otherwise, they were taking him away. He had the one play on a screen,
which was
he's a special player, Debo Samuel, and he made one special play in that game. Yeah.
Really hope Shane actually wanted Trey, says the truth. If management decided to make that trade without him and next year he is blamed for Trey sucking, he's bouncing. Do you have a life-size picture of management forcing Kyle to do something? This isn't Washington. He's not an offensive coordinator. He's very powerful here. You think Jed would do that to him? I don't see it. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think he wanted Trey Lance. I guess I don't know. I'm so sick of that conversation. Yeah.
How ironic is it that possibly Jimmy's last play as a Niners is an interception? I don't think ironic is the word. I was going to say fitting.
Yeah.
Was it his first throw a touchdown or was it his second?
his second throw was a touchdown. But the interception too, for it to go down the way he did. Look, he had no chance on that play. He kind of did have to throw it up. It was third down, game's on the line. He's under excessive pressure. But for him to throw the pick the way he did, given, the backwards pass that we've seen this year and all those kinds of things, it was
a little bit butt fumbly. Jimmy G picks fans, are you ready to move on from your stagnant relationship with Jimmy, or are you going to risk being cheated out of bliss again? You're asking the wrong guys. We're not Jimmy G fans. Alex Smith fetched a third. Yeah, I think Jimmy.
No, I'm a big Jimmy G fan. You saw my Twitter profile picture.
Jimmy says Jimmy gets a fourth. The Niners get a fourth for Jimmy. What do you think? It
depends. But Washington also gave Alex Smith a brand new contract, and they were fully in on Alex Smith as kind of their short-term future quarterback with Jay Gruden believing in Alex Smith. I'm looking for the situation of who is going to identify Garoppolo that way and believe in him. Also, Alex Smith played like an MVP candidate for a lot of that final season for Kansas City. I mean, Garoppolo, whatever you want to say, and here's what it boils down to, actually, because this actually makes me a little bit hot when we talk about the Garoppolo topic. The fact that, he wins a lot of games, but from just a pure quarterbacking perspective, and raw counting numbers are very inefficient, but I'll cite them anyway. The guy threw 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions when he plays with Kyle Shanahan as his play caller, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Elijah Mitchell, and he musters up 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Like, are you kidding me? Kirk Cousins on this offense, Kirk Cousins would be throwing 35 touchdowns, 8 picks this season, and I don't know how much they're gonna win, but
yeah. Last one, now I'll let you go. Do you think the Bucs and Niners make a trade where the Niners get Brady? I think Brady's going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, it's about Trey Lance. Everybody's gone back to the veteran QB game, but it's about Trey Lance.
Bish, get out of here, man. Thanks so much for giving me an hour of your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was good to come back on. It's a little bit, therapeutic to vent. It really sucks that they lost. There's a silver lining in the season. And you know what really sucks the most, Grant? Man, I thought they were going to beat Cincinnati. When I saw Cincinnati winning that game, I was like, Niners are fine.
I was like, wow, the Niners are going to be – I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow. And then I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So anyway.
All right, I'll catch you, Grant. Thanks for having me.
Man. For sure. Peace, man. All right, let's finish this up. Hold the phone. Vish is so generous to give me his time like that. I really do appreciate it. Steelers make too much sense. Do they? Steelers make too much sense. Don't want to rebuild similar quick passes like Big Ben. They want a big arm in Pittsburgh. That's something that evolved because Big Ben, when he got there, had a big arm. The Steelers are way too smart to make that mistake. They're going to draft a quarterback and sign someone like Jameis Winston. There's no way they're going to trade for the right to spend a lot of money on Jimmy and his intangibles and magic pixie dust. The Ninth Wonder says, should the Niners try to get Watson? Thanks for the great coverage this season, Grant and Vish. You guys always kill it. I would stick with Lance because Watson is very good, but you don't even know if he's going to settle those issues. How many? 22 of them? 21? Jimmy played well enough yesterday for us to usually win because the rest of the team's so good. You can't say a quarterback, who plays that poorly in the fourth quarter played well enough. Not well enough to overcome zero run game. Needed be better than mediocre to win with no run game. Our D has to play nearly flawless. They didn't. Yeah, I mean, for Jimmy to win, you have to have a flawless defense and a great run game. And when he loses, people say, well, the run game should have been better. Well, yeah, so you're basically saying like the rest of the team should have carried him. Okay? It'll be nice to have a quarterback who can overcome things like that. Grant, pay that man his money in his Teddy KGB voice, the worst Russian accent of all time. That was hilarious. Jimmy plus a pick for Howard. What's the plan now that the Niners should cut Jimmy and cap space going up? Who should be the Niners pickup in free agency? Yo, chill, man. I'm not in free agency mode yet, but who the hell is Howard? Howard the Duck? I don't know who Howard is. Get back to me. Do you think Deebo was asked to do so much because of Jimmy's limitations? Of course. Shanny had to pull a rabbit out of his hat because Jimmy held the playbook back. Yeah, I mean, like the only way they could throw the ball to Deebo was freaking that sucks. What was I talking about? I think they're not going to make Jimmy Garoppolo available to talk today. He's off the team. Goodbye. I thought he was going to talk. That's interesting. Huh. I guess he's done. I really thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to talk today. I forgot what I was talking about. Hold on. Oh, yeah. It's like, why just throw him screens when we can hand him the ball? Because even screen passes are dangerous to Jimmy Garoppolo. You run the risk of interceptions when you throw to Debo, and you hand it to him, there's no risk of interception. Debo seems spent on that final quarter, overused. Well, he got smacked. He had that hospital ball. Hard to say. Might have been hurt. Jimmy Grant, give this money to Vish. I'm a Pistons fan too. All right, I'll give Vish $5 next time I see him. I got you. We lost this game when the Rams realized Goff couldn't get them to their goal and decided Jim could lead us to ours. No big swings cost us. Yep, pretty much. Okay, hold on. Jimmy Garoppolo is a reflection. Hold on. Yep. Jimmy Garoppolo is a reflection of Kyle Shanahan. Montana throws Walsh-esque play calling 1 minute. Ryan Leaf, Chip Kelly next. Shanahan turns into a high school OC in big games. Yeah, he really is very uncharacteristically bad in big moments. I've been on Kyle Shanahan since 19 gets too tight when leading. Any blowout wins are due were because of forced turnovers. Almost no games where the offense blew out a team, quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan to be blamed for this. Thoughts? Yeah, the quarterback. You could say, well, Kyle doesn't trust his quarterback. We'll get a new quarterback. Oh, you did get a quarterback. Oh, you didn't play him. Well, that's on you. On you. At Vish, sorry to be late, but got to say Jimmy G does it again. Sorry, Vish is gone. Grant needs his own merch. Start with a shirt that says play the kid. That's the name of this final episode of the Niners 2021 season. Should have played the kid. Should have played the kid. Jimmy robbed us of a chance forcing the last play. Yeah, I mean, that was just he makes really bad decisions. That's his thing. Should the Niners extend Debo? Absolutely. Trey area will need him. Shout out to Vish and Grant. Yep. You probably shouldn't expect this type of performance from Debo again. I don't see how Trey's going to be better than mediocre next year. Financially makes sense, but don't think it's going to get us over the top. Should have Stafford or anyone proven so dumb. I'm optimistic about Lance. If he starts off mediocre, I think he's going to steadily improve. He has like the best supporting cast in football. He's going to be pretty good. I don't know if he's going to be worth a big second contract, but I think he's going to be pretty good right away. If Jimmy Garoppolo can have mediocre stats with this supporting cast, I think a guy with actual talent can do better. Can you ask Jimmy whether he needs a hypnotist to help him visualize himself stepping into his throws with bodies around him? Yeah, I'll ask him that. Appreciate you. Do you need a hypnotist? Julio says, yes, you can tell that Elijah was drained. That's on Kyle, though. You have Wilson and Debo. What's happened to Trey Sermon? Fatigue killed us. Yeah. He just rode him into the ground. I'm going to double down on the basketball analogy and counter Vish. Our explosive runs equals dunks and ones. We still need spacing. Trey equals our Steph. I agree. Vish shut that down. I like that analogy. There's no spacing. This team is all – it's like the Russell Westbrook. You know, you can only score layups and mid-range shots. I went to school with Westbrook. I know about Westbrook's game. There's no spacing in this offense. Trey Lance will provide the spacing and make everyone's job easier. Also, Brandon Ayuk will provide the spacing. Those will be the Splash Brothers. Mitchell and Debo didn't get anything going running, but Shannon listened to Grant and kept running. Jimmy getting blamed regardless. Let him throw it. Vish said that. Let him throw on first down. He threw well on first down. I didn't like not handing the ball. Whatever. Kyle, get the ball to Debo more than once in the fourth quarter. What the hell is that? The hell is that? Jimmy Garoppolo did throw like 3 near picks in this game. You can't act like he didn't do that. I mean, you want to knock Matthew Stafford for throwing that ball to Tart. What about Jimmy throwing that ball that hit Jalen Ramsey in the chest in the 5? Trey clearly should have started since week 17. Jimmy has been bad since his injury. We knew he needed surgery to get better. That's what I've been saying. Everyone's like, Jimmy's due. Jimmy's going to bounce back. No, he's hurt. He's not good anyway. Trey should be starting. BA had a 70-yard TD if 11 didn't hold BA before it caught it. Also had a big gain in Dallas that Garoppolo missed. Trey Lance got cheaper. The first rounder is number 30 and 22. Ask 32 NFL GMs or coaches. They'll take a championship game appearance or a first rounder. Yup. I do think Trey Lance could have done better. I think Trey Lance would have had a better quarterback rating than the 74 in the postseason. And again, the reason the Niners made the NFC Championship is not Jimmy. It's because God blocked that punt. I agree with Vish. Win the Super Bowl, but I expect Trey to improve. I expect to be right about Trey after next season. I've always been pro Trey. Always. And I know that about you, Julio. All Ayuk needs is a quarterback who can make deep throws. Yeah, who wants to throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield. I agree. What is the position the Niners draft first this year? Cornerback, probably. Maybe offensive line. Cornerback, will the Niners beat the Seahawks next year? I think they will. I think they will with Trey Lance. Run game stretches the field horizontally. Trey should hypothetically stretch the field vertically. That combination makes playing defenses tough. We saw it in the Houston game. Once Kyle started finally taking play action shots. Houston was like, well, we can't defend all of that. That's a little much. It's too much square footage, square yardage. And they gave up and they tapped out. Scrolling here. Excited to see the creativity Shanny can do next season with Trey, Debo, and Raheem. I'm excited to see what Kyle can do with the full season preparing for Trey Lance. He drafted Trey Lance, but never gave him the reps in the offseason. He was all about Jimmy. Now, I'd like to see Jimmy gone before minicamp and OTA start because every single first-team rep should go to Trey. All of Kyle's brain power should go into building an offense for Trey. Get Jimmy out of here. There can't be creative, I don't know what you would call it, tension, having Kyle think in two different ways like this year. Can we continue to advocate for Trey to play? I don't even want to talk about trading Jimmy because his value is not good. Cut him right now. Well, let's see if they can get something for him. All it takes for Debo is one play. Vish. That's what I'm saying. One thing no one wants in offseason, Grant and Botan. Botan's coming back. Don't worry. 49ers wasted a year Debo trying to raise the trade value of a mediocre quarterback. What a shame. Ignorance is the worst enemy. History repeats. That's the way I look at it, Maruna. All the Niners are all coming out being like, you know what? This was a really successful season because everyone counted us out when we were 3-5. No one thought we'd make it to the NFC Championship game. Here we are. We made it. Sure, we didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but a lot of teams don't make it this far. I don't like looking at football that way. Sure, you can. But it seems to me like the more constructive way to look at losing is to be upset about it and say, yeah, we made it far, but we essentially beat ourselves in the final game. And by doing so, these two mistakes that are within our control, we wasted Debo Samuel's best year. We wasted another year of Trent Williams' prime. We wasted a year of Nick Bosa. It's bitter in that sense. All the work Debo Samuel had to do, all the pain he had to play through to lose that way, when he was the best player in the field, it's bitter. And I think that's what the Niners need to think about. The Niners always let themselves off the hook. After they lost the Super Bowl, they partied with Lil Wayne. They gave themselves a Super Bowl party after losing because they love each other so much and they felt they should have won. And then after this loss, they said, well, what the most important thing is that we're really close knit and we like each other and we exceeded expectations. No, maybe you should be disappointed. Maybe then you'll actually not give away a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. You'll learn from your mistakes and be better from it. But I don't see the Niners doing that. Once again, they're saying, you know what? We did good. We may not be champions, but we got the participation trophy. I don't like it. The Niners should be talking about, it's yes, we were 3-5 and we're proud of what we did to dig ourselves out of that hole. We never should have been in that hole. And we should be in the Super Bowl right now. And it's really, really hurts that we had to waste a season of Trent Williams' career, waste a season of Debo Samuel's career. It hurts that they couldn't get what they deserved. We let them down. They should say stuff like that, but they don't. And it starts from the top. Did Kyle have enough power to bench Jimmy making $27 million? Would Yorks like that? I think Kyle has enough power, yes. I think Kyle just made a decision. And his decisions usually aren't as good as mine. I think offensive production is going to go down a lot next year. A lot of games will be like the first 6 quarters Lance played. Going to be a rough year. I disagree. I think the offensive production is going to go up because the Niners are now going to be playing their best quarterback and not a freaking arsonist. Paul, thank you. Question, I'm curious about the defense, though. Losing those, lose Tart. Curious. Jennings should have been on the field on that 2nd and 1. Sherfield totally whiffed on Weddle, and then Kyle got cute and thought Juice was going to save him. Yep, agree. Julio says we need to start Trey. Getting a veteran quarterback will prolong Trey's improvement and overcoming his growing pains. When will Trey take over until he's 27? It would be like another Jimmy case. Yeah, he better start this year. Start the kid. It's his time. Football field is 53 yards times 100 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo plays on 35 by 20. It's true, man. They don't stretch the field. Xavier Howard. I think it's time the Niners get a shutdown corner. Xavier Howard's almost 30, though. But, yeah, they should get one. That's a good one. Can you or anyone else name 5 things Jimmy Garoppolo individually does well? No one can ever answer that question for me. He rallies the team. He's professional. No, I can't. Quick release, I can't. Trey's floor is Jimmy's ceiling. Moving on up. I agree. Thank you very much. We need to tighten the right side of the line. O-line up. Oh, McGlinchey's coming back. Don't worry. Just kidding. Can't wait until Cohn phone. Much to discuss, bro. Oh, yeah. Not today, but It'll be early this week. I promise. It'll be early this week. I promise. We got a lot to discuss. Love you, Coach. Eric, thank you. Other than experience, what's Trey Lance's biggest issue in your opinion? Inexperience? I don't know. Not throwing a spiral? Touch? He should work on those things in the offseason. How about that? Kyle needs to take control of the locker room. Players' love for Jimmy is the reason he played this season, in my opinion. Yeah, Kyle's your team, man. Take control of the freaking locker room. Tell them what the deal is. I'm with you on that. I agree, Grant. Get rid of Jimmy before minicamp. Prolong his cut will only create mixed emotions in the locker room. Trey doesn't deserve that. Yeah. Kyle, this whole team needs to back Trey the way they backed Jimmy this last year. Now it's Trey's turn to get that treatment. Let's look forward a bit. What's our salary cap getting rid of? Ford and Jimmy, do you think cornerback our biggest need? Kinlaw bust? Who do you want for agency? I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do that. Those are really tough questions. If you want to figure it out yourself, though, go to Over the Cap or Spot Track. That's math. I don't want to give you wrong information. So let me do some research on that. We have a few months. I'll get to the answer. To all these denigrating Tart, I ask, what did the Niners do with the first turnover from Ward? Why are y'all so confident Niners would have scored on Tart? Yeah, they're basically saying Tart should have returned it for a touchdown. He should have just been a hero. Now, of course, he should have caught the ball, but you're right. Who's to say the Niners offense would have scored? All right, guys. This show is over. Vish is gone. I will do a Cohn phone soon. Let me figure out when I have time and get back to you, but it's going to be early because I want you guys to have your take on this loss soon. The range of execution needs to expand from running to 7 to 12 yards downfield, keep the yak going, improve the health and depth of the team. Agree. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Good luck to the Niners this offseason. I'll be here chronicling it. See what they got. See you guys.